Barcha and Nagi would walk up to the Germany Stratum room to see Chigiri, Kunigami, and Isagi out there. Barcha would ask if this is an alumni reunion. Nagi would be confused, then remember they were all on Team Z. Barcha and Nagi would then ask Isagi why he didn't play against England, and Isagi would respond with he couldn't prove himself useful against Barcha, so he got benched as punishment. Barcha would compliment Chigiri's goal. Barcha would then suggest that they play a 2v2 together. But before that, Isagi would ask what about Nagi. Nagi would ask Isagi simply, what is his goal? Isagi would say for now beating Kaiser and then later beating Noah to become the world's best. Nagi would ask Isagi what he would do after that. Isagi would respond that he would defend the title against anyone who would come for it, and he really hasn't thought about it yet. He would then ask what's going on, why is Nagi asking all these questions. Nagi would tell Isagi about how he is confused on how to move forward on playing soccer now that he has achieved his goal of beating Isagi. Isagi would ask what goal he had before him. Nagi would respond with the fact that he didn't have a goal and was just trying to figure out the fun in soccer, and before that he was following Rail's dream. Isagi would understand everything now and tell him that he can only give himself his own egotistical dream, but one common one is being the best in the world. Isagi would ask Nagi what his hobbies are. Nagi would respond with video games, and then Isagi would say he should treat these games like fun obstacle courses before making it to the world's best and having a true final boss. He should say these should be like levels for you. Then Nagi would reflect upon Nuna, saying that how everyone has their own egos and his was the twisting of hearts. Isagi would add on, although whether you can make those goals enjoyable is only up to you and your motivation. With that, Nagi would thank Isagi for his advice and rush off. With that, Nagi starts to ponder on what could fire him up. Nagi would reflect on how he was never able to defeat the supernatural being in Rinitoshi, nor has he been able to beat the zesty demon that defeated Rail in Ryo Seishido. Then he would think about Rail and his promise to him. Now it would be time for Nagi to find a way to get stronger. Knowing that this is his longest break of 20 days, he had to make it count. He would rush off to the Master Striker's office and he would find Lovino just chilling there. He would tell him that he finally understands the true source of his ego, and Lovino would just turn around giving him a smirk and say, what is it then, lazy egoist? Nagi would tell him he never gave a damn about soccer before he met Rail, so his whole reason for playing the sport was because of a promise they had. Everything was going well until Isagi came in and destroyed their perfect winning streak and casted a spell on Nagi, being curiosity of what makes soccer fun. So he played with the intent of getting strong enough to beat Isagi, the final boss. However, after doing that, it made him lose his fire of curiosity. However, after talking to Isagi, he has realized what the true original source of his fire is, and that's being the center of the world. He viewed Isagi as that, which is why he called him the final boss, and wanted to see what it was like to be at the center of the world. It's that pleasure of feeling like a god that would make Nagi want to be the world's best. Now that he's finished his curiosity on what makes his ego about soccer boil, he can follow his true ambition to be on top like a video game. But now in real life he wants to be the god of football. Now that he knows, he declares to Lovino and all the pros he is coming for them. Lovino would smile and says he likes this new fire from Nagi and looks forward to see Nagi progress in the future. But the conversation would end with Lovino telling him chalk is cheap, but actions are rich. However, in order to take action, you must be able to verbalize your own ideals, so you're on the right path. So Barcha would start to work with Kitsune Zato. The two funny buddies would start working on chemical reactions, as this is a 20-day period. They need to really do the best they can. Otoya would also start working with Himizu, as they were teammates in the second selection. And he would start to really practice hard with Himizu, who could be the dribbler who could get Otoya some goals. Nagi would be training for a new technique to try and defeat the two freaks of nature aces. Himizu and Darai, being the smartest brains of the team, would realize that they need to do more to increase their numbers, would collaborate with Wakatsuki to see if they can surprise their opponents with some rational counterattacks. 10 days would pass and it would be match 5, BM vs Ubers, and match 6 and PXG vs Manshine City. Nagi would be watching the Manshine game to keep tabs on Rail. For the lineup, we have Manshine City with a 3-4-3 with Rook, Busby, Neo, Young, Swift, Ranima, Hayate, Hiragi, Chigiri, Rail, and Agi. For the Paris X Gen lineup with a 3-5-1-1, we have Renoir, Chappa, Gabon, Michelin, Karasu, Posen, Tokimitsu, Santetsu, Nanase, Charles, and their lone striker Ryusei Shido. Nagi would be shocked that Rin isn't starting for Paris X Gen. Barcha would cheer that Isagi and Kunigami are both starters again for Basamuchi, and even his team Z Bori Raichi made the cut. The kickoff to both the games would ensue. Charles would pass the ball to Shido, but Agi and Rail would cut him off. Nanase and Tokimitsu would make their presence known to Shido, asking for a pass. Shido would send a pass to Nanase, who would send a pass to Tokimitsu, who would send a pass to Karasu, who would hold off Hayate and Hiragi before sending a back pass to Charles, who sends a devilish pass to Shido, who scores a crazy left-legged goal to make the score 1-0. During Shido's celebration, Nagi would look over to Bachira, who was watching the Ubers game, and Nagi would be interested to see how Isagi would fare against the defensive castle that is Ubers that wrecked them 3-1. With Lorenzo cooking Kunigami with his zombie dribbling, then Lorenzo would use his zombie step to get past Raichi, Lorenzo would get past Yukimiya, and then fake out Mensa. Now that everyone was focused on Lorenzo, Nagi and the rest of Barcha knew what was coming. The lion in the shadows looking forward to devouring the field in its image of tyranny. But to everyone's surprise, Isagi would stop it, showcasing his 100% control of Metavision. Nagi would be intrigued by this new Isagi. Isagi would work with Corona to get past all of Ubers before getting stopped by Ness, annoying Bachira. However, Isagi, who had planned for this, would use his lefty shot to score his first NEL goal, to everyone's surprise. Nagi would notice Isagi's physical specs are way better than what they were like a month ago, and his spatial awareness is now god tier. Nagi would then look back at Manshine vs PXG, where Rail sent a back pass to assist Chiguri's goal, which equalized the game 1-1. Shido would send a pass to Karasu and tell him to go crazy. Manshine's defense would focus on pressurizing PXG to use the right side of the field. Karasu would send a ball to Tokimitsu, who would send another pass to him, but Rail would try to stop Karasu, but Karasu would use his hands to keep him at bay. Agi would try to pincer him from behind, but Karasu would use Zantetsu, who was being tracked by Junichi Wanama. Zantetsu would send a low pass to Shido since Rail was marking Charles. Shido would receive the ball, but feel a huge pressure behind him as Nio was there. Shido would flick the ball up and still go for goal, but Chiguri would stop that shot, sending the ball in the air, and Junichi would receive the trading passes with Chiguri until Tokimitsu would come to track down Chiguri. But Chiguri would blitz past him, but Karasu would use a crow slide tackle to send the ball out of bounds. Chiguri would send a throw into Agi, who would send the ball to Rail, who is outside the box about to copy Win's Trivella shot, but Karasu would use his hands on him to dispossess him, but Rail would fall down copying Ikaguri's militia foul to earn himself a free kick. Rail would score a crazy curve free kick to get the lead for Manshine City 2-1. At the same time, Badger's jaw would drop as Kaiser would have scored potentially the goal of the tournament with his insane overhead bicycle nutmeg kick goal to give Basamuchi a 2-1 lead. Charles would send a no-interval pass to a rushing Cheeto, who would give a header to score the game to equalize the game 2-2. Rail would then realize that if they were to win this, Rail would need to play more defense as Nao's effectiveness against Shido has worn off. So Rail would team up with Nio to stop Shido in the air and on the ground. And on a possession of where they would go stop Shido, they would leave it up to Agi and Chiguri to go on the offense. Chiguri would get past Karasu with Tokimitsu and Zantetsu hot on it, but he would send a high aerial pass to Agi, who tries to score an insane bicycle goal to win the game, but Charles stops the ball and would nearly go out of bounds, but Rail would get to it with Karasu looking to crow tackle him, but Rail would nutmeg him and copy side byline goal to win the game officially for Manshine City 2-3. On the other end, Isagi would have won the game with a reflex x reflex goal to give Basamuchi their first win, and Manshine City would remain undefeated in the NEL and now first place. 29th place, Rakatsuki with 3 million yen. 19th place, Eita Otoyo with 14 million yen. 18th place, Miyoku Darai with 16 million yen. Also tied for 16th place is Seichiro Nagi with 18 million yen. 6th place is Megu Bachiro with 68 million yen. 4th place is Mikage Rail with 75 million yen. 3rd place is Ryusei Shido with 95 million yen. Second place is Yoichi Isagi with 103 million yen, and first place is Shohei Bao with 130 million yen. With Rin watching clips of Sai and Nagi remembering the most embarrassing days of his life, 10 days later, Levinho would finally announce his matchup to face PXG. Goalkeeper, Moro. Center back, Ruiz. Second center back, Usais. Right back, Himizu. Left back, Darai. Central defensive midfielder, Wakatsuki. Central midfielder, Espino. Second central midfielder, Picasso. Left wing, Lala. Right wing, Otoya. Striker, Barcha. Nagi would be stunned to see that he isn't starting, and that's because he didn't produce results in the last match, so he must face a little punishment, but Levinho would assure him that when he subs on, he will bring Nagi in with him himself. So they would enter the pitch to see PXG at full power but without Ryusei Shido. Bachura would ask where Shido is, and Karasu would say Rin and Loki made an agreement that Shido could play the whole Manshine game by himself as long as Rin got to play the whole game against Barcha by himself. Rin said he doesn't really care about any of these games, he just wants to crush Seishiro Nagi, the guy who Saitoshi chose over him. Bachura would be spooked, and Nagi would just listen and get confused that Rin was that obsessed with him in the first place, as Nagi had no idea. Rin would be saying that he's been waiting to crush Nagi and he's going to score a hat trick on him. Nagi would say he spent the past 2 days training to crush Bluelock's #1 and Itoshi Rin himself, so he better not get cocky. Rin would just call him lukewarm for not even being a starter in the first place. Otoya and Karasu would catch up a little while Bachura would do the same with Zantetsu. Charles would interfere with the stare down, stating that they need to start the game shortly, and everyone would get in position. The game would start and Charles would give a pass to Rin. Bachura and Otoya would press Rin. With Rin left in a pinch, Nanase and Tokimitsu come behind Rin to support him. As Rin passes it out to Nanase, who would pass it to Tokimitsu with Bachura trying to press him, and he sends a pass off to Charles, who traps it, and Himizu would try to rush him by, but Charles would send it off to Rin. With Espino and Ruiz on him, it doesn't matter as Rin uses a side spin middle to give PXG the lead 1-0. Nagi would be stunned that Rin is even more of a cheat code now. The game would restart with Bachura passing it to Otoya just for Karasu to intercept him and use his fast reflex to get up in time and send a pass to Zantetsu, who would have Picasso and Himizu try to press him, but he dishes a pass off to Charles, who sends a pass to Rin, who scores another side spin shot, increasing the lead 2-0. Levinho and Nagi would get on for the master striker switch. Levinho would also bring on Haiji to replace Espino, and Nagi would go on the left wing. Levinho would be a cam, and he said as fun as it would be to cook PXG and score 2 goals in 3 minutes, with or without Loki, you guys still need to grow, and he will just support them from behind. Nagi would ask why did he score against Basset Munchen then. Levinho would state he just wanted to teach everyone in Barcha about embracing your own freedom. He would also tell Bachura that one of his closest friends he went to go see during the 20 days training Rensuke Kunigami, that Levinho was given information about his performance and it was verified he was Bluelock's mimic copy of Noah. So Noah also probably scored to show the orange-haired brat how the original does things. Bachura would pass to Nagi and Karasu would go for a crow tackle, and Nagi in response would trap it and then flick it. Nagi would get pressed by Karasu and Nanas. Nagi would reflect on what Sai taught him before the match, and Nagi would stop and turn like he did in the exhibition match. A 0 reset turn, stunning both Karasu and Nanase. Nagi would dash for them and then he would trap it and do a body sway and then do a feint pass to Bachura and sends a real pass to Otoya, who would go for a shot but Zantetsu would take it. The ball would fall down to Levinho, who gets triple pressed by Zantetsu, Nanase and Karasu. He would get it through to Bachura but Charles intercepts it, saying he was waiting for a dive, but Nagi gets it with Rin on his tail. Nagi would do another reset and midway flick the ball over Rin, utilizing his Gengar X trapping to the best of his abilities, but Rin is still on him, so Nagi goes for his juggling shot. Rin would say, still relying on that juggling shot, I know how to stop that foolish circus shot. Rin would close the gap for it to only be a faint juggling shot, shocking Rin and everyone on PXG and Barcha, and the shot would go in, bringing the score 2-1. Nagi would say he's going to make sure that he takes down the strongest now, and tells Rin, I caught you lacking again. Rin would get infuriated by being bested by Nagi for the third time. Rin would start reflecting on how Sai's little brother's comments have really tormented him, and how being a copycat of Itoshi Sai never mattered. He started reflecting on how he has gone from a little brother of Itoshi Sai, always relied upon him so he could follow his ego, to locking up his own ego for the sake of his team's victory, and copying his brother's controlling the team playstyle, to now relying on Bluelock to help him survive, and couldn't even last 90 minutes against his brother, who chose a lazy white-haired egoist over him. The more he has been playing football, the more his true ego dies. The more he plays football, the more his originality dies. The more he plays football, the more his reliance on others grow, to the extent he even has a pupil named Nanase. The more he plays football, the less he is Rinitoshi, the more he is Saitoshi 2.0. Rin would start cracking. I worked so hard for this moment, and I'm still falling short. Nagi Sishiro, you've been growing at a rapid rate out of nowhere, and you're finding new ways to fight me. I can't even beat Nagi. If I can't beat Nagi Sishiro, how am I gonna beat Itoshi Sai? That's it. That is it. The only way to crush that white-haired beanpole and to destroy Itoshi Sai, I have to bring back my destroyer mode. Destroy everything. Destroy. Starting with you, Seishiro Nagi. Nagi would reflect on what happened 15 days ago. Nagi, after going to see Isagi and the others with Barcha, would go reflect on how he went to see Reo to tell him his feelings. Nagi would tell him, I want to be the god of football now, Reo. So he would tell Reo thank you for introducing him into the world of football, and sorry he had to break up with him in the second selection and didn't really work with him in the third selection. Even if their biggest game ever were on opposite sides with an unresolved finish, he would tell Reo he's going to be the god of soccer by beating Bluelock's number 1 and 2. He would then tell Reo the same words Reo told him in the exhibition match, to bring everything he's got to crush him. After their final match, they can both go on to lead Japan to the World Cup like they promised at their full power, and achieve being the gods of soccer on the world stage together. So them being apart doesn't mean anything if they aren't together, but just fighting different battles to achieve their ultimate goals of winning the World Cup. With that, Nagi will leave Reo to prepare for his battle with PXG. Now we are at present time with Destroyer mode Rin activated, and a fired up Seishiro Nagi begins as the potential final kickoff begins. Nanase would pass it off to Rin, who would start by rushing past Otoya and Barcha, and then using Haiji's alien dribbling style against him, and then nutmegging the Rai and nutmegging him, and the Rai would get in his way. Rin would remember that his ability is slipping behind people, so he would do the same to him. Rin would pass the ball to Nanase and then slip behind the Rai, but the ball would have been stolen as the Rai was bait. Rin would have to pass, and Himizu had stolen the. Since Nanase couldn't control the ball properly, so Himizu got an easy steal and dribble past him. Tokimitsu came in to press Himizu, but he sends a pass, with Charles cutting off his passing lane to Otoya. However, he had passed it instead to Levine. Tokimitsu tried pressuring him, but Levine would do a roulette pass Tokimitsu. Tokimitsu would follow and try to steal it back, but Levino would sweep it back. Karasu would try to make it a two-man situation with his Kotago. However, Levino would use his rising dance. Nanase would try to pull up, but he would get nutmegged. Sansetu would use his full speed acceleration to get the ball off of him, but Levino would just do a drag back, sending him sliding. And then he would send a through ball as Otoya uses his shadow steps to avoid Karasu using his Genga motions and score the equalizing goal. The Master Striker time would run out. Isagi would be shocked by how well PXG has been working with Rin as its leader, especially since seeing Destroyer mode Rin. Gakamaru, Corona, and Raichu would all be stunned. Isagi would know that the one who was France's true heart is Charles, who has been making things very easy for Rin, but is now scared and intrigued to study how to stop this new version of Rin. Sai would be shocked that Rin has returned to his original ego. PXG would make one final substitution, and due to his clumsy mistakes, it cost them the chance to end the game. And that person is Nanase. He would put in Kento Cho, who, unlike Nanase, who has good ball control, and that is what they need to finish the game. Loki would tell PXG that good potential mixed with Rin's new offensive fire should be enough to finish off the game. Charles would ask why not send Shido to finish it off, as that offensive power at 100% would surely be enough for FC Barcha to not see it coming. But Rin would say he is enough. and he wants to crush Nagi by himself. The only thing that stopped him last time was Nanase, and now that he is coming off, he can finish them off. Livino would compliment FC Barcha on making an exciting turnaround, and now it's time to finish them off in a flamboyant style. He would say that sure, FC Barcha is about getting exciting and flashy, but you still need discipline and foundation for your technique. He would congratulate Nagi for waking up and now using Ginga to make his trapping techniques more dangerous, and would congratulate Dariah and Himizu's plan, saying that that's the basis of winning in style. Sometimes you have to do the hard and boring stuff to get into the fun and winnable side of football. Now go get the win, FC Barcha. The players would get on the pitch, and Loki would call Livino a trash coach. He would then call him a dad who can't let his kids grow. Whenever he doesn't hold their hands, they lose. They would have lost to Bastard Munchen and already did to Ubers since Livino wasn't there, and couldn't score a goal before he came on against PXG. He would state his team is built on freaks who combine their forces and win games. They beat Ubers and barely lost to Manshine because they didn't use Winnie Toshi. And even if he loses this game, it doesn't matter as these are not official games. He doesn't care for any of the Japanese players, well, a slight exception for Rin and Shido, as they are essential for Charles to become the world's best midfielder, so he can make him the best striker in the world who can beat Noah. Livino would tell him to slow his horses as he would have to try and surpass him first. Loki would say he respects his senior, but he would say it's clear he is above Livino. Livino would take massive offense to that and try to start a fight with him, and which they do, and the bench has to hold both of these guys off as they start throwing hands and going crazy. Both Loki and Livino would be banned for the final game, and Ego would say that there would be two mystery new master strikers to coach their teams for the final games. Final kickoff. Rin would pass it to Sho, who would pass it back to Rin. Rin would dash past Bachira and Otoya, then Nagi would get in front of him and try to stop him, but he would be terrified of Rin, who would tell Nagi, "Come at me with everything you've got." Nagi was scared, living a video game boss battle in real life. Rin would say, "With that tepid face, you really are a failure of a rival," as he hits across a Lasco nutmeg. He would get pressed by Himizu and Darai. He would dish it back to Tokimitsu, who starts trading passes with him, but Bachira would tackle it and Zantetsu would receive it, and Loki would scream for Zantetsu to go for his own goal. Zantetsu would blitz through Darai and take a shot, but Moro would save it, deflecting it into Himizu, who would clear it, sending it to Otoya, who would shoot with Charles on him, but Renoir would make a save and send a through ball to Charles, who would catch it and send a no interval pass straight to Rin, leading to a shoulder between Rin and Nagi. Rin would trap it with his right foot. Nagi would say this guy isn't human. His core, trapping, dribbling, and shooting on all his specs are on a whole bigger level, as Rin scores the game winner. Rin would say it's over to Nagi, and now that you're in my past, I'm moving forward to my future, where I'm going to crush my scum of an older brother. As Nagi would fall down with his gloves ripping from the impact, Ego would appear on the monitor to talk about the bids. But before that, we would see the ending to Manshine City versus Ubers, with Aggie trying to send a final pass to Rail, only for Bao to steal it and then rush through Manshine's midfield, with Rail trying to stop Bao, as he would send a pass to Nico instead with a good fake out. With Hiragi on Nico, Nico would be forced to send it back to Bao, who goes for a finish, but Chiguri stops only for the Hyena Sendo to pick up the scraps to win the game for Ubers. Now for the bids. 35th place for Kitsune Zato with 4 million. 33rd place as well, Haiji with 4 million. 31st place, Itsuki Wakatsuki with 5 million. 29th place, Himizu with 9 million yen. 23rd place, Miyoko Dorai with 16 million yen. 14th place is Eita Otoya with 34 million yen. 11th place is Seisho Nagi with 38 million yen. 6th place is Meguru Bachuro with 79 million yen. 3rd place is Mikage Rail with 105 million yen. 2nd place is Shorei Bao with 150 million yen, and 1st place is Itoshi Rin with 180 million yen. Lavinia would tell FC Barcha that he is not allowed to coach their last game because of his fight incident, and would introduce them to their replacement master striker, the shadow striker from FC Barcha, the one who recently came over to the team 2 months ago and already scored 11 goals. A man who even made Japan's new generation 11 star bow to him. Everyone meet Bunny Iglesias.